Good morning. Good Monday morning. Good Labor Day morning. I am going to go labor today. I hope you're not. I hope you're going to drink beer and barbecue or whatever combination thereof floats your boat, blows your hair back. The one funny thing is that Bao was released from jail yesterday, but today my butt hurts. It's a joke. My butt's a little sore from climbing those stairs on the coastal trail. It was a fun day. I enjoyed it. Nice and cool. Get back into the Sacramento area. It was 97 degrees. We stopped at a place called Super Duper Burger. I want to say it's Larkspur. It's around Sausalito-ish area. And it was pretty good. I mean, they had a good burger. It wasn't an amazing burger, but it was a good burger. You know, well made. Their garlic fries were terrible, but the burger was good. The store was clean. The staff was very friendly. So, you know, can't get everything you want. Oh, and the sodas, it was a soda fountain, right? So you could have as many sodas as you wanted to. But they gave you glasses to drink from, which is odd, and I didn't mind that. I like drinking out of a glass. I know. I'm a snob. I'm an elitist. Anyway, so then after that we drove on a little ways, and I got a hankering for a shake. So we stopped at Fenton's in Vacaville. I had a butter pecan shake. My parents used to get butter pecan ice cream, and it just tickled my fancy that there was butter pecan shakes there. I felt so retro. My wife got a roasted almond shake. I know lots of people like to say almond, but you don't say salmon, you say salmon. So yeah, it's almond. Fight me. Couple things. I was asked about free speech zones yesterday, and as far as I could tell, they're constitutional. It's a time, place, and manner restriction. I know there have been a couple of challenges to them that never made it past the district courts. Back in the Bush era, I think, is when these were going on. It was like Acorn versus the Secret Service, and Acorn versus a police department that I can't remember. I want to say Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. Anyway, I want to go this way. How's that make you feel? They never made it past the district court stage. I think there's also a couple people who got arrested for it back in the Bush era, who were found to be demonstrating outside of the free speech zone and refused to go to the free speech zone. Somebody somewhere developed rules for it. There's like 4 different rules you have to follow, but the big ones are you have to be someplace where you can be seen and heard and interact with people coming or going to the event. There are a couple others. There are some states that have effectively banned them, although I don't know how that would come into effect on like government property. Like if the federal government was going to have like a presidential rally or something and rented the forum, then all of a sudden that becomes government property because the government has, or the federal government has possession of it. And then I don't know. It would be an interesting little thought experiment that I am not in front of a computer or in any way, shape, or form feeling up to going through. How about that? On a personal level, I think that free speech zones are generally pretty terrible and ripe for abuse. There were a lot of free speech zones that I saw recently in the in this last election, the 2016 election, where they were like, the free speech zone was like 2 blocks away, something ridiculous like that. It's pretty terrible. Not a fan. Not a fan. I can understand why they don't want, why they want to separate, because people seem to be getting really emotional about, politics lately. Maybe they've always been, but I've been seeing it's been getting pretty emotional. Like, people losing friends that they've had for years on Facebook because their friend just could not stand their political position or whatever. I've seen a lot of that. Anyway, people getting fired from their jobs for supporting. I had a friend of mine who voted Trump, and he lost his job. He was working for a tech company, and boss found out that he was voting for Trump, and next thing you know, he was laid off. They just didn't have enough work for him. They were anticipating cutbacks due to the change in administration, and they just couldn't afford to keep another person on. I was pretty amazed. I was pretty shocked. Now, of course, that's hearsay. That's actually really is hearsay, because this is what my friend told me the reasons were, and he could be lying. So I don't know why he would, but he could. Maybe he was lying for sympathy. Who knows? But anyway, yeah. So I can understand reasons why they would want to separate protesters and counter-protesters and all that fun stuff. But in general, I would like to see, if you're going to do it, I would like to see better rules in place. Like, the protesters have to be able to be heard without like assistance of a amplification device at the front door of the stadium or something like that. You know what I mean? Some real bright line rule that can be used to make sure that everything is on the up and up. Now, as far as the Freeman video I did yesterday, I don't necessarily think people are getting the underlying point. Maybe it's probably my fault. I failed to say it. I'm going to assume. I kind of thought people would get there, but the underlying point is that Freeman is, I believe, at a bit of a crisis. The community didn't support Bao. The community doesn't see things the way Freeman does. And by community, I mean Crowley, or wherever the hell that trial was. Rowlett, somewhere around in there. The people in that community do not share James's weird-ass worldview. They don't share Bao's worldview. They view yelling hostile names at what is essentially an older woman as inappropriate and offensive, and they don't like it. And there is a law that addresses it, and they wanted to apply the full force of that law. And so James is thinking, if my cultish followers figure out that my little cult is stuck on however many people he has subscribed to him until he buys more like the big boys do, then how are they going to continue to buy in? How are they going to maintain their fervor? I need stuff to get donations. These people need to believe so I can get donations. They've got to believe so I could stay their little godhead. And so what does he have to do? He has to find data that supports his position, that makes it look like his position is the popular position, and it's just some enormous conspiracy theory that's keeping down the wants and desires of the people of Texas and the people of the US and the people of the world. The reality is that it's not. And the reality is that what he is using as evidence is not evidence of what he's using it for. That's the underlying point. James probably does understand the difference, but because James isn't stupid. He may have convinced himself to believe what he wants to believe, and he may not be open to the truth. But he's not stupid. So the fact that the state legislature has written legislation requiring the Texas Supreme Court and the Texas Court of Appeals to record and publish the videos of their oral arguments isn't indicative that the system is corrupt in the first place. Because you got to remember, that was a government solution, James. The government came up with that solution. What are they trying to hide? Well, it looks like they weren't trying to hide anything, James Freeman. The government implemented that solution because the Supreme Court could reject that. They could say that that doesn't align with the principles of justice, or the Criminal Court of Appeals could. Either one could, as far as I know. But they don't. They're playing along. What are they trying to hide, James Freeman? And there have been rules about, I know people are like, but they just had this video of Roy, I won't say Roy Oliver, I don't know, the cop who was just convicted of shooting somebody. They published that. Yes, they did. They've had rules on that for the trial court level in Texas for quite some time. In the Texas Code of Civil Procedure, they lay out rules on how you can film. And in the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, there's nothing saying that that the judge can't allow filming in a criminal trial. And if the judge does allow filming in the criminal trial, the judge will use the rules from the Texas Code of Civil Procedure, which state that there can be one video camera and it has to be in a fixed position. And you can't change tapes and things like that during the trial, and you can't record the jury box. And if you're going to use audio, then it has to be hooked up to the mics. The existing microphones in the courtroom, all that fun stuff. And so, yeah, Roy Oliver was televised. I have never said that it couldn't be. I went through Estes v. Texas and Chandler v. Arizona. Estes v. Texas said, no, you can't. Chandler v. Arizona said you can, as long as you protect the due process rights and the justice, the interest of justice, and the decorum of the courtroom, etc. So, if you think that somehow this was a huge win for courtroom recording by auditors, you are sadly mistaken. And James is probably pretty used to being sadly mistaken. Speaking of sadly mistaken, it's quite odd to me that the auditor community, the Clash with Bao friendly auditor community, is taking Bao getting out of jail as some sort of a win. He served his time. That's not a win. He got done with the sentence. It was pointed out to me, and I honestly have never looked it up, but it has been pointed out to me that in Texas, you get double time, I believe double credit for time already served. So if you served 10 days in jail waiting for trial, they credit you with 20 days on your sentence. So if you had a 30-day sentence and you already was in jail for 10 days prior to the trial, then you'll have 10 days remaining once you get done with your sentence. And I'm also told, and again, haven't verified it, that it's something like triple time if you've been in solitary. So, he's literally just served a sentence. To the best of my understanding, he has just served a sentence. And that Leon Valley, Bexar County, if you're a Californian, just because they haven't increased his bond requirements, is Meaningless. It's literally meaningless. He's not done with those, as far as I know. Those are still pending. And if he starts acting screwy again, guess what? Men with guns are going to knock on his door and take him back to Camp Happy Land. So it's not a win. That's all I'm saying. I know that the auditor community desperately needs a win. I would love that win to be at Fort Huachuca, but it seems we have the wrong man on that case. But I hope he could pull it off. And I know a lot of people are asking me, well, what's your take on Bao? You know, tell us how you feel. Like, okay. Let's see if I've been internally consistent. Number one, I'm not a huge fan of long incarcerations, so check. Number two, I never said that I didn't like Bao or anything like that. He did what he did. It was right that he got arrested for it. It was right that he got tried for it. It was right that the jury found him guilty of it. The jury was within the bounds of the law. He asked for the jury to sentence him. The jury sentenced him. And they sentenced him in compliance with, in accord with the law. There's my statement. Like, honestly, Bao isn't an auditor as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he may do some auditing things, but to me, Bao is more of a provocateur. He's more of a... He is not fighting for any rights that are useful to me or useful to 99.99% of the rest of the country. I don't think there are very many people who want to wander around with a text-to-speech app playing oink oink, piggy piggy oink oink at full volume. That's a very niche kind of right that he's trying to advocate for. So yeah. I have no interest in him, other than really what Freeman is saying, because I have interest in Freeman, because Freeman has, again, pull within the community. So anyway, I might try to line someone up for a discussion on Sunday. I wasn't going to do it this Sunday because obviously I was hiking and I was tired when I got back and had no plans on exercising my brain case. Thanks for watching. Happy Labor Day. Have a good day.